Welcome to episode 9 of our Rocky Mountain River Rock Hunting Adventure series. Today we return to Colorado's Big Thompson Canyon with its mesmerizing scenery, exquisite geology, and amazingly unique mica schists and related rocks. Hey guys, well, we couldn't get enough the other day, so we're back looking for a little more punishment with the mica schist here in the Big Thompson Canyon. This piece shows exquisite rippling, and here it's broken through the layers. So you can see the rock broke kind of crossing the layers, but every layer has the same ripples. And that's just a very interesting phenomena, I guess would be the word. And then I'm gonna try to get down here. The rock I'm standing on is even better. Got to do this without dying. When you guys are out and about, go slow and careful. So this one is the same material. And again, you see the ripples here. But look how the ripple carries down through every layer. That's really cool. It broke through here, crossing the layers. And yet each layer has the same ripple. So this piece here, put my foot there so you know how big it is. This, I would say, is the plane, the actual surface, and you can see the ripples that it has. And then here it's broken across all the layers. If I stand back, you can see it even better. But note how the same ripple goes through the whole rock. These lines here are ripples. Yeah, this really catches it nice, especially as I move the camera for you. Can you see the reflections changing? Extremely foliated and contorted. Don't even want to imagine what the pressures and temperatures must have been for this. Beautiful mica schist. Almost looks like a stalactite. It's really cool, the patterns. Too big for us to bring home, but doesn't stop us from having a record of it. Here I am back at the house showing you guys a couple of samples. The sample on the right is the more regular mica schist. In this case it's kind of a copper color, really pretty. But note how the layering is straight. These are basically the original flat layers of the protolith or shale that was pre-existent before it became mica schist. And then here we're showing it with the folding. Again, that corrugation of all the layers. So very interesting to see them side by side, and the differences as well as the similarities.
Okay, we got to get out here.
All right, here's another promising road cut. Look at the reflections, guys, and the layering. This is like if mirror could exist in the form of a rock. This is what it would be. Yeah, that one looks rectangular. Look at the layering. See, this stuff is totally unweathered because they made this road cut. You can see back there where they had to drill. So this stuff hasn't been weathered yet at all. So again, here we're looking at mica schist that is really unweathered. You can see the core holes, so this is deep enough into the ground. It's beyond the frost line. And look at this guy. Talk about bulges and waves. Yeah, I'll have to tip him up, see what's in there. We've come up the road. We're kind of close to Glenhaven, Colorado, and I'm trying to film this with the sun out. It's a nice granite pegmatite. You can see where this is probably quartz. It seems to have some reflections though, so maybe it's plagioclase feldspar. And then the pink would be the microcline. You can see where this is a perfectly smooth face here. And that was actually the surface of this microcline crystal. But it's been eaten out. Wow, that's perfectly smooth. That's so cool. And then here are some nice tourmalines. We're looking at them end on. If we were to be able to cut this rock that way, who knows how long those would be. They might be quite long. Giant microcline crystal here. And I saw, and again, this could be a crystal face. I'm not really sure. Or it could be what's called slick and slide, which is where there's a fault in the rock. And these are lines from grinding where one face ground against the other. But being that it's a granite pegmatite, it could go either way. Yeah, that's nice. Really nice and smooth. A very cool example of a pegmatite here. Here we are walking down this road cut a little further. So the coarse pegmatite seems to be on the surroundings of this granite intrusion. But Johann caught this caught his eye, and it appears to be a xenolith of mica schist stuck within the granite. And it's obviously metamorphosed and coarser grain, seems to be more biotite than muscovite. Sun's not out, so you can't see too much in terms of the mica of it. So here it's surrounded by granite, and just here's this lone chunk in here. Here the road cut kind of folds back down in the other direction. If you can imagine, it's kind of a hump. It goes up and over and dips down. And the first pegmatite we were looking at is way down there. And the rock, we're basically looking at a fold here that the pegmatite follows. Same exact pegmatite. These are actually sills because they're, if you study the layering like that one up there, they are parallel to the layers in the mica schist. So they pushed in, found a weakness, and went in along the layers. Whereas when they're perpendicular to the layers, then if it was like this, it would be called a dike. Now I lost the sun again. But I wanted to show you guys, again, we've got the plagioclase or light colored white feldspar, and then the pink microcline. Tourmaline, muscovite mica, and here again is the mica schist. Get a little further away from it. Trying to catch the reflections for you of some of these crystals. Here's the sill that I was pointing at from below. It's like all muscovite mica. Again, you can see the structure, how it grew from the outside in. Perfect example of a sill. You can see the layering of the rock is like this, and this is parallel. So in geology we call that a sill as opposed to a dike. No tourmaline in here though. It's pretty much all muscovite mica. Be careful, Johann. What fun, guys. And this mica schist is a much harder variety. It's either more metamorphose or just a slightly different rock type. We are starting our way back down the canyon, and we wanted to take a look at that road cut over there. It's got some nice pegmatite structures going through, again, what is most likely mica schist. And sure enough, most likely these were dug out and tossed over here when they did the road cut. Beautiful examples of the pegmatites. We'll start after, I hope all that reflection is showing in the video. It's blinding to look at. But this rock here really has nice structure. I'll come around to this side. So if you remember in the previous video, we talked about the structure of these pegmatites. And this one is kind of different because it's got different bands going all through it. And yet you can see there was clearly an edge of the intrusion right here. And then you see this little band with some structure to it, and then it gets coarser. Yeah, what an amazing chunk of rock. I'll show my hand so you can see how big it is. This thing's really big. It looks like there's really no pink feldspar at all. It's all just white, little pink down towards this end. This might have been more towards the core of the dike or sill. Okay, and we got a cloud. Let's see what that does for our viewing. It's not quite so blinding. And then if we look at this one, the size of that mica, look. There's some tourmaline in here. Where did you see that tourmaline at? We saw some nice tourmaline needles. I think they were, I just don't remember which rock they were in. I know it's one of these. I think it was here.
Yeah, it's there.
There's a little something there. Sure enough, yep, there we go. Tiny little tourmaline crystals mixed in here. How's this for a piece of mica schist? Big waves going through it. See my foot for size. This is the hard stuff. It's solid. Crystallized mirror, we could call it. This is different than the mica schist further down in the canyon. You guys remember the fleck in that is much smaller. Here it's a very coarse mica schist. And yet this has a ripply pattern. It's harder to see because of the larger flakes. But it's very similar structure. All right, let's go across the road. We got to do this without dying. All right, this is awfully shiny from the road. Yeah, this is all mica. Nothing immediately amazing yet. I'll pause it here and come back to you if I find something. So I was thinking those mica schists I was just showing you came out of this road cut, but no, this is different material. It's a little more mafic. It's almost a pegmatite. You see these contorted, twisted veins? That's a telltale sign of pegmatite. And here we are very close to the batholith, the plutonic body that pushed all this material up. See, this was a solid hillside. They had a core through and blast to make the road. Here's more pegmatite structure. And then the rock itself, some kind of mafic rock. It's, see a few little sparkles in there, but it's, no pun intended, it's as hard as a rock. It's not crumbly at all. Looks like that's continues down that way, and then here's this pegmatite vein. But this pegmatite is different than what we were seeing across the way there. Well, we'll follow the same habit as last time. We're on our way back down the canyon now. We're gonna try our luck in the river. Got the river shoes on. It's 95 degrees or so. Maybe it's not that hot up here. It might be 90. We're hot because we were finding rocks, though. So we're gonna see what we can find. Nice big granite pegmatite on the bottom there. Here's a promising rock pile. There's one way out there that looks green, but I doubt there are green rocks here. I've never seen a green rock here. You see it on the bottom there? It has me curious. Gotta put the phone away though, because I'm gonna need both hands. Alright, Johan just verified it is a piece of plastic. Remember what I said in the last video, this river washed out all the houses up and down. So there's a lot of garbage in here still. That was in 2013, and again, exactly 49 years ago in 1976. Was a catastrophic flood here. In fact, when I filmed the video the other day, that was the 49th anniversary, Johan pointed out to me, July 31st, 1976. I'm gonna try to make my way out to those rocks there. Kind of sorry I left the backpack in the truck. There's more here than I thought there would be. These really look nice. All the pegmatites and mica schists we were looking at dry, seeing them here wet and rounded, they really have a nice look. Look at this mica schist here. Let's get it under the water. It's like a silver coin. I don't want to lose it because I want to keep it. That's river rounded mica schist. No ripple, just the regular stuff, but that's so smooth. Really nice. Put it in my pocket. I'm gonna have to make a trip back. And then look at this guy. This is a part of a granite pegmatite vein on a fold of mica schist. Look at that on the end there. Yeah, I definitely want to keep that one. Look at that coarse mica and rippled. You remember the structure I showed you guys in the road cut where the pegmatite followed the mica schist layers up and over and back to where the truck was parked? Here's a miniature of that in a small hand sample. Not very small, but very cool. Here's a piece of road. Lots of road in here. Big chunks of the highway were washed away, and they replaced most of this road. It was shut down in 2013, I think for almost a year. Another little piece of pegmatite vein on mica schist. Very common, this material. I'm going to leave these here and come back for them. We'll look around a little more. Just taking you guys along for the hunt here for a few minutes. Oh, nice shiny one. Beautiful mica schist. Here's another one. You see the sheen that it has? Yeah, those are nice. Not finding any this far up the canyon with the ripples though. I'd like to find the more ripply version. The pile. This time my pile's underwater. When we were up at the road cut where the pegmatite was inserted into the mica schist, there were a couple of beautiful young kids there. Hunter and Brandy, I believe her name was. And we really connected. Beautiful people. They're out here from Iowa and they were looking for the tourmaline crystals that I had mentioned, and I told them about the channel and about Granite Paradise in Fort Collins. I'm really hoping we can connect. They seem like really sweet souls, if I could use that term. Hunter and Brandy, a huge shout out to you if you're watching this. We're in the river on our way back, having a blast, and I'm thinking about you guys. May God bless you in every way. And I look forward to you coming by sometime. Yeah, there's all kinds of... That was almost a mafic rock. We're not seeing too many of those here. But I told Hunter, the reason I bring them up is I was telling Hunter that he might have better luck looking for rocks in the river, because in the river most of the soft crumbly rocks are already gone and you're kind of at least somewhat sorted into harder varieties, and in my mind they're just prettier. I always like the river rounded rocks. There's something shiny. Nope, just another chunk of the local granite. I already got one, so one is enough. I'm trying to find a nice river-rounded piece of graphic granite like I showed you guys that I have at home. They're not that easy to find. Nice chunk of pegmatite. Mica schist with the ripple. Tiny little piece. There's a fairly decent piece of quartz. Light goes through it pretty good. Doesn't seem to have any cracks. Look at the algae on the bottom. So this quartz forms a natural greenhouse, because whether it's here in the river or even when they're on dry land, the light goes through them and provides a protected space underneath that's a little more damp. And sometimes they're very lush with, in this case it's probably underwater algae and things of that nature. And on land I've seen little ferns growing under them even. Very cool. Nice little mica schist there. Another. Oh, a real nice one. Look at that under the water. Yeah, that's a flashy one. That's like a mirror there. Yeah, if we just start looking for mica schist, there's a lot of it. Another one with some nice sheen. All right, I had to bring these to calmer water because they were going to get away from me if I set them down. I don't know what this is. It looks like a pipe or something, but it has this. Oh, that's about to break off. But it's just completely rounded. That gives you an idea how violent that flood was. This is thick pipe and it's just smashed and rounded and completely compacted with gravel. Oh, I see what's going on. That spins. Yep. Okay. Now I got it. I'm not sure what that was, but it's just kind of cool looking. And mica schist. They look nice under the water. You guys remember in the previous video where we stopped at that one road cut that was it was a dike of the grayish granite, and it had these pink lines going through it that I said were probably microfractures and iron oxide got in there. Well, here we are probably 10 miles upstream from there, and yet here's a chunk of what appears to be the same material, river rounded. It's even got the lens there. You remember in one of my samples there was a lens like that. So in the last video a few days ago, you might remember that we stopped at this dike. It was maybe 50 or 100 feet wide. It was a good sized dike of this granite, but it appeared to be very local, not a major batholith. And it had these pink veins that I thought were fractures that got filled with iron. And these are some samples that I collected at that site. And here's one with the lens. I don't remember if I showed these in the video or not. But so these materials were collected about 10 miles, maybe even 15 miles. Not sure, quite a ways. And then here in the river, in the part of the video that we're seeing now, this is a river rounded piece of what appears to be exactly the same stuff. And this river rounded piece has both a lens and the purple stripes, or the iron inclusions. So very interesting that these were found nowhere near each other, and the rough form of it was found downstream, way downstream, and this was found upstream. So evidently there's a lot of this material in those mountains. I just thought that was an interesting coincidence. So here's my samples, one with a lens and one with the stripes, and then here's ones with both from the river. The lens and the pink going through. So what a cool nutshell sample in the mica schist. This is loaded with those eyes. Some kind of unique growth within the mica schist. And the rock is full of it, so I'm going to keep it. They're on the other side as well. There's a rock similar to this in the Cache Laputer. I think I showed it to you in the last video. I'll have to check. If I didn't put a clip in there, I'll put a clip in of it now, one that I polished. So the sunflowers are still in abundance here, so it's hard to get to these rocks. But these are the ones from the Cache Laputer River. They seem to be quite a bit harder, and I polished this one. Try to get it out of here. So you can see it has what I call the eyes. And they look like they're just mica, but they're very hard, which surprised me. Let's see if we can prop that up there. And get it wet for you. I'd love it if someone could explain this to me. The whole rock seems to be made of mica by its appearance, but again, like I said, it's really hard. And I'm thinking that one that I'm showing in the video today from the big Thompson is something similar. This is from the Cache Laputer River here in Fort Collins. Here you can get a good view of the reflections and the structure. Boy, it'd be nice to have a countertop slab out of this material. Yeah, nice find. Johan's got quite the pile growing over there too. I hope this shows up for you guys. There's ripples in the sand on the bottom. And you can see all the mica, how it catches on one side of each ripple. Maybe from further away it'll show up more. So this is all mica. It doesn't really show once you disturb it. You found a
tourmaline needles.
Oh yeah, sure enough. Yep, all on that surface there. Oh, it's on the surface of a vein, of a pegmatite.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's a nice chunk. Look at the rock you're sitting on.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Here's what appears to be a really nice piece of quartz. So much mica schist, I can use this as a shovel. Yeah. I don't think it's worth keeping, but it's an interesting pattern. Well, let both of those go. It's getting to where I have enough mica schist. Might need to start being a little pickier. Another little quartz. Well, have you guys had enough yet? Here's a feldspar crystal, it appears. Not very good though. I did a little research on the history of the rocks in this canyon, and most of these schists and quartzites, such as those seen standing literally on end here in the walls of this canyon, are in the 1.7 billion year old range, generally older as we head further into the mountains and younger as we head east and out of the canyon. What were originally sedimentary rocks became buried deeply underground and underwent metamorphism several times and were smashed and squeezed in various intense mountain building events. Plutonic intrusions of granitic magma further altered the rocks, putting in place the many dikes, sills, and other pegmatite formations that we see today. Remember that we are seeing these exposures only after erosion has removed literally miles of overlying rock layers, depositing them into the adjacent plains, which is why our plains have such a high elevation even though they are flat. So what an adventure this has been, looking back into extremely deep time and seeing some wildly intense geology today. Thank you so much for coming along, and I do hope that since you made it this far in the video, you will make it a point to share it and the channel with those whom you believe might benefit from the content. I look forward to see what Johan does with all his rocks. Maybe that will be the subject of another video in due time. Blessings to you all, and we will meet again on the next one.